of Boys and Men. Good read. Welcome, boys. In high school. Now, don't lie. In high school, when you went in there, did you play video games? Be honest. Like, don't lie. Did you come in there and did you usually open up a laptop and try to sneak in some videos or some games because your parents didn't allow you to do that at home, so you'd come into high school and you're like, oh yeah, let me just finish my homework at home, because that's what I used to do. Be like, yeah, let me just finish my parents at home because my parents would want me to see that, like see me doing that. And in high school, I'll just play some games. I used to go, maybe it still exists, it's called like .io games, like Slither.io. It's like these snakes. If you type into Google like Slither.io, there's some other .io games, I forget what they're called. I'll type that into Google, and when the teacher would lecture for my math class, I would just play those games. Did you wake up? Tell me if that's not you. Maybe you see kids around you. If you're watching this, that might not be you. There's a slight chance that might not be you. But maybe I'm still talking about you. You wake up, you have a dry mouth, you've been mouth breathing the whole time, no tape on your mouth, like, you get out of your bed, probably don't even take a shower, you don't warm up, you don't get your lymphatic system moving, or is it like lymph, I think it's just called the lymph. You don't get your lymph moving, no physical like jumps. You take some kind of food, you stuff it that's like made in a factory, some bread, you stuff some cereal, some gunky cereal. You take that gunky cereal, you put it in a bowl, you put that milk that literally has a bunch of estrogens in it, like the hormones from cows that have been fed. You take that processed factory made cereal that can literally last on the shelf for years. For years it can last on shelf, and you eat that along with some milk that's been, I don't know why I said that, like some milk, but get some milk. So you eat that with some milk. Yeah, honestly, you don't even have to edit that out. You put the milk in there with the cereal. And this milk goes down your slimy esophagus. Your horrible breath, your teeth probably that you haven't even flossed or brushed. It goes down your esophagus and you eat that stuff. It flops on your stomach and your body and your liver starts absorbing those sugary stuff. Now you probably have those yellow things in your eyes, like when you wake up. They're like the little like eye wax, I don't know what you call it. It's like over here in your eye. If you look, maybe you check that out. Next morning you wake up, like feel over here. There's probably gonna be like some stuff. You don't clean your eyes out, you don't probably wash your face. You slap on a hoodie, you go straight into school on your school bus, put on some headphones, and you start scrolling through Instagram. You breathe into your mouth as your cereal and the estrogenic milk is in your stomach. You get to school and you see maybe a girl, maybe you do this. You buy some coffee. You take that coffee and you drink it down. It's even worse. Like, at least you had cereal. Honestly, I don't know if it's worse or not, but let's say you had cereal and milk. Some other kid wakes up, he has coffee, or she has coffee. Your stomach has nothing in it. You haven't cleaned your throat or anything. You just take that, put a bunch of sugar in the coffee. yeah, give me coffee. You suck that coffee, or some girl is like sitting there sipping her fucking 100 grams of sugared coffee with artificial sweeteners. That would probably honestly also last for years on a shelf if you put it. Like, I bet you that if you take some kind of coffee from Starbucks, you put that on a shelf, you pick it up a year after that, you could probably still drink it. Does that sound like real food to you? But that's just some food for thought. Now, what I personally used to do is in school, I would sit there in my math class and I would just stare at some woman. Literally I don't know if guys probably they think about this. Nobody has the balls to talk about this externally. They sit there, they stare at some girl. At least that's what I used to do. and I would think how I could fuck her. I would literally sit there in my math class, stare at some girl, and she'd be playing with her hair or something. And I would be thinking, what would I do if I was in bed? Like, how can I get her to make out in bed with me? Or what would I do while I'm making out in bed with her? Literally zero care. I would just fantasize in my brain. I would just start fantasizing in my brain like how she would look naked or something like that, bro. Does that really sound like education to you? Like, does that make any sense? And I'm not talking about the millions of other things that school has done for you in terms of negative things for your mental health. I don't think it does. And maybe other YouTubers had the same thoughts. I don't know. I haven't heard, at least I personally haven't heard anybody talk about this, that they were thinking about that stuff in high school, which they probably were. But I know a lot of strong, young, sexy cunts are probably thinking that right now. So that's just another fact that proves education is not the best for boys, at least. And on this topic, well, let's look at some statistics. So in one generation, we had our roles reversed with women. Our women, well, not our women, just girls in generally, they used to make up 39% of campus students back in like 1970s, 60s, whatever. Maybe 70s, 80s. Men made obviously 69%. 61%, I'm sorry. No, not 69. I don't know why I said that. Girls made 39% and boys made 61% of college participants. In one generation, it's literally flipped now. Men are 39% enrolled in college. Women are 61% enrolled in college. So 61% of, well, it's expected to be like that. It's expected. It's very close. It's expected. Like this book, this is where I'm getting the facts from. Of Boys and Men, good read. It's super recent too. It's written like 2020 or 2021. Crazy recent. It's super recent. And this is predicted to be in the next 5 years. Now let's take a look at this. Check this out. Because 1972, we had a participation of men, like boys, me and you. We were outperforming women by 13%, which was good. And there was 13% more dudes in school, not colleges, but high schools. And then it's called Landmark Title VI, which encouraged women to get into the education system. Landmark Title VI comes out, and then the women go ahead and get encouraged. They're like, yeah, go into high school, college. 1982, we have an equal amount. So 10 years passes, okay, that's good. We have an equal amount, men and women, and that's good. Obviously, that's good. I think that's probably the golden standard that you could have this at. And then 2020 comes around. And 2020, we have 40 men, 40 like guys, 40 boys, for every 60 women in colleges. And that's nationwide. That's all like Kentucky, Wyoming, Florida, New York, nationwide. 2/3 of men to women in colleges. It's a completely 360, or I'm sorry, 180 that just happened. A 180 that just happened. Men and women just got flipped, pretty much. And I had a student, well, he's not a student, he's a guy, he's a friend of mine personally. He had an IB academy. Like, there's this thing in America, at least, maybe you guys know this. IB and AP. So IB is like a program, it's like a solid program. So you get in there and you're an IB student. You have to take specific IB classes. It's like a whole fixed plan. AP is a little different, at least in my case. It was like you can take classes that are from IB, and you can take a lot, but you don't necessarily have to be in the academy of IB. So that's what I did for a little bit, until I realized that it's kind of stupid. And I obviously I used to be in my high school career, before I was going into like college and all that stuff, I had 2 majors. I was becoming I was working out of the 4 majors, which you had business, art, and you had science, like biomedical and engineering. Business is like, that's where all the schmucks go in high school. They're like, oh yeah, business, bro, the stupid kid. Arts, I'm not even talking about. That's like theater. Then you have the biomedical and engineering. I was in 2. I was in both. 3 years of my high school, I dedicated to literally grinding and like working at both of those fields. I'll take some classes from here, some classes from there. And I had a friend, a very smart guy, like he's crazy smart. He's maybe like top 10 students. He's one of my boys. Back in high school, and I remember this pretty clearly. He took a degree to biology. He wanted to become like a genetic engineer, because that was a growing field. Yeah. Now he realized that all the time he spent in school trying to learn that was absolutely pointless, and he switched his major for real estate, for like business, in terms of getting, because he figured out a little hole in there, like a specific way you could do that. He hopped in there. You know, I'm honestly like, he's gonna probably do pretty well in that, because he's built up that work ethic from school. But he was telling me himself, he was saying he's just absolutely pointless. And that's what I realized. I realized this a little bit earlier than he did, but he still made the right choice. Now back to the story. So the guy takes IB classes. I take the normal academy, which is AP classes. After, I think it was 2 years, he calls me up. He's like, yeah, how you been? You know, maybe we should hit the gym or something. Yeah, you down to? I'm like, hey, are you still in IB? You know what he says? He says, I quit IB because it was too stressful and hard. And you know what he started doing now? He started smoking weed. He literally quit IB. And this is a smart guy too. He's not stupid. Smart guy. He started IB. Realized it's too hard after 3 years of his life that he wasted. And he just started smoking weed and having fun. Now, I don't know his future plans. I haven't talked to him in like a few years. But that just goes further to prove my point. How insane the difference is. And let's talk about girls in high school. Well, women, and I'm gonna give you solutions for that. Like, obviously, I'm not just saying, yeah, bro, it sucks for us, we suck. I'm gonna talk in the future upcoming video about solutions, which you'd probably watch after you straighten up. Pause your posture. How are you sitting? Don't move. Are you straightened up? Did you straighten up? Or are you hunched watching this video? Straighten up. Be in a good position. Hope I caught you. Remember. Or if I didn't catch you, then that's awesome. If I didn't catch you, you're the man. I mean, you're the man regardless. Bro, you guys should know this. Come on, you guys watch this stuff. You guys know you're the man. You're the guy. Like, even if you're hunched a little, yeah, you got a little bit too into the video, you're still the guy. But straighten up so you can be an even taller, hotter, sexier guy. Now, let's talk about girls. The things we all love. Well, some, but that's a different topic of discussion. Some. Well, you tell me. Tell me. You walk into a high school or college, it doesn't matter. High school, college, like some educational facility. I just use high school because it's just such a like common measure of education. You go into two people's backpacks. You have a girl, an average girl sitting next to you, and you have an average guy sitting next to you. You go into both of their backpacks. What do you see? What do you expect to see? Say you go in the girls first. What I see is that the girl has everything perfectly annotated. Everything is perfectly labeled with these little markers. Everything is to detail, organized, complete organization. She's a pretty lunchbox, maybe. We go into the guy's backpack. What's in his backpack? It's probably like some notebooks, some scratch work, some like chunks of paper, some breadcrumbs in the bottom of his backpack from his protein bars he used to take. Maybe some stuff, maybe a weed pen, maybe a vape, maybe those little alcohol bottles. Maybe some pens scattered around. Not organized at all. Well, doesn't that already kind of give you an indication? Like, it does. There's no if it does. It literally does give you the indication that men, these boys, are not necessarily the best performers at school. Maybe men just need a different approach. And this is where vocational schools are going to come in, which I'm going to talk about in probably the next video. But vocational schools are super good, especially for guys who want to go in a field. And I want to explain a little philosophy on this, because there's a certain method, at least for guys, I think is way better than school. So stay tuned to check that out. But all the girls I know, and I know a good bunch of girls, even back in high school I knew a lot. There's these stupid girls who still actually don't do too bad. Because it's like the stereotype, girls, if they're just party girls, like sluts, hoes, whatever. They're actually not necessarily too bad at their grades. Yeah, they have some C's maybe. But I've never really seen any of those girls have like D's and F's. Or at least F's. They're usually okay. Now, if you go to the average girls, who are decent, they are cracked at academics. They're so good at academics. In fact, like my friend, who I was just talking about, the smart one, not who quit high school for weed. He was maybe considered, it's rare for a guy like him to get to that level of like just getting A's. For that guy, there's maybe 5 girls who were on the same level as him who actually maybe even did better than him. It was those 5 girls who would get upset if they get below like a 95% on a school grade. And that already shows you that girls are just more conscientious in general. And maybe I'll talk a little bit about this, but I don't think, especially for girls, if any girls are watching this right now, check out this very, very interesting mention by Jordan Peterson. He's talked about girls' future, and now you heard Jordan Peterson like, oh yeah, screw this, he's a conservative. Think about this. I just want to tell you. He said, well, by the time, I'm just summarizing this. If you want to check it out, just look Jordan Peterson female, type in Jordan Peterson female career. He says, yeah, girls usually outperform guys in high school. It's statistically proven, which I just mentioned. And by the time they get in those jobs, they work hard. Like, there's a girl I know, she wants to get into a nursing school, become a surgeon. It's so cliche. Like, come on, man. Like, oh, I want to become a lawyer. Oh, I want to become a doctor. It's one of those fields. It's either a lawyer or a doctor, and you just have to put in a ton of work. She's going to put in like 8 hours in there. Puts in 8 hours. Or, I'm sorry, not 8 years. She's putting in 8 years. I wish it was 8 hours. Puts in 8 years of work, even more. That's just to finish nursing school. Then she has to start her doctor's license. By the time, in a good position, she's going to be at least 30 years old. By that time, she's going to have a husband. Or at least I would hope so, she would have a husband. She would probably have a kid by that point. The husband is going to be making money. She's going to be in that job as a nurse. She's going to be fighting. I'll tell you the secret man. So there's a guy I know. I'm a pretty hardworking guy, I would say. Have 2 jobs. I'm getting ready for academy to get into firefighting. I'm gonna be picking up a 3rd job too in sales, just like once, twice a week, just to get experience. I have some side stuff going on, that stuff, gym obviously. So let's say whenever I walk past the guy in the street, I usually understand that I'm able to outcompete him. This guy's maybe like 3 times harder than me. This guy literally sacrifices work. Sacrifices gym, working on his body. Sacrifices his diet, which I don't think I should do. I try to minimize as much as I can in the new principle of I try to have somebody cook for me. Outsourcing. I use the money that I earn just to save me time, so I would outsource. I'd maybe stop by. Made a new rule. So on weekends, I allow myself a little bit of carbohydrates. In case you haven't check out my guide on full male guide on morning routines. If you follow that exact format, you're gonna be set. But what I've also started doing now is on weekends, no sugars obviously. On weekends, I've started adding a teeny bit of carbohydrates because weekends I do most of my work on weekends. I wake up at like 5:45 a.m. and just work one job, then go instantly to a second job. Work there to like 9, 10 p.m. And it's not even too bad if you do it on weekends, but I try to maybe stop by my mom, have her cook something. Obviously praise her, penetrate my woman with love. Or I would maybe stop by some sort of healthy fast food, which that probably there's no such, maybe like some salad place. Yeah, I know there's no like healthy fast food, but you kind of get the point of what I'm saying. Just because I want to save my time, I'd rather pay for that. And you are going to be going, that girl who I was just talking about, she's going to be going against dudes who are 3 times as more nose to the grindstone. What is that? Yeah. Grind to the nose stone? No, it is nose to the grindstone. Yeah, nose to the grindstone more than me. They're just constantly, this dude was working 14-hour days. And this dude, by 30, he's going to be wanting to be that doctor too. Do you understand that he's going to be trying to be that doctor? And she's going to have to go against him. They're going to be rivals. This guy doesn't care about anything. He's like a freaking truck. He's just plowing through everything. He's going to work those crazy shifts. He's going to wake up at 1 a.m. He's going to be going to every single place he needs to go. Every single task he needs to do. This girl, yeah, she could do that. Then she's going to be thinking, why the hell am I working 80 hours a week when I have a family and my husband makes some money? And why am I competing with this guy? She'll just quit. There's a statistic. I'm literally going to give you right now. I think it's in this book. Women by the age of 30 who finish top university, so those girls who outcompete my smart friend, who get upset if they get below a 95. Those girls, they go to high university, Yale, it depends on where you are. Like Moscow, it will be like MGTU. It's a prestigious school. London, I don't know, Cambridge University, I don't know if they have some unis at London. Europe, some kind of fancy Paris university. They go to those schools. You know what they do by the age of 30 according to this statistic? Try to guess. You think they work? By the age of 30, half of them don't work full time. So they either do part-time or they don't work at all. So let's imagine that girl goes in there. She goes ahead through all of that academy. Or, her training to be a nurse. She gets to 30, she's a doctor. She's in a mega stressful situation. But she's most likely gonna take down her hours, or she might quit in general, just take some quieter job. Because her husband is making money. She has a kid to take care of. So then it's why did she put in 10 hours of her life to train to study to get in this position? And that's a feminist narrative. And it could work for some masculine women. There's some masculine ass women out there who probably don't outcompete me because, come on, bro, you really think I'm gonna let masculine women outcompete me? Hell no, buddy. That's a different level playing field. If they want to be masculine, well, then I'll show them what masculine means. Like, bro. But there's like crazy masculine women who could do that. But most women, I assume, would rather not do that. And so they just waste 8 years of their life in those trainings in order to become a nurse. And what's ironic, let's check this out. As women are becoming smarter, so those women are becoming smarter, well, it's shown that they want smarter guys too. So the guys they want to marry, they want them to have higher intellectual capabilities than them. Think about how insane that is. That's crazy. They want their guys to be smarter than them. And yeah, like, that's not what's happening. Because the guys are, on the contrary, going down, having less education. So it's not fitting, because obviously I love, now don't get me wrong, I love smart women. Like, smart women, so good. Because you can talk up to them about, you know, philosophical endeavors, and it's better than having some stupid, you know, bitch on your side. But that doesn't take away from the fact that if they're insanely smart and they want their partner to have at least the same level of education that they had, they prefer higher. Not a lot of dudes out there have that, especially nowadays. So it creates this unrealistic standard. So it's like a mix of feminism and like feminism and, you know, what's the other opposite of feminism? Like femininity. Because they, on the one hand, they're feminists, so they want to like be strong, smart women. Yeah, you go, girl. They get to these crazy positions. But then they also want a guy who is smarter than them, so they can kind of maybe, or at least on the same level, so they can have somebody who they could talk to. Well, there are guys out there like that, but not many. That's all I'm gonna say. At least I personally don't know a lot. So the best thing you could do as a guy, which I'll briefly mention, I'll talk about this in the future video, good stuff. You can, as a guy, go ahead and expand yourself. So like, you know, get rich as fast as you can, get a good woman. Or again, you could, like, you don't have to stay in America. That's what a lot of guys don't understand. Why do you have to stay in America to get married? Do you know how many other places there are? And this is a problem for most guys I've noticed. I have a friend, he's American. I've been to a few places in the world. I was raised in Moscow, then moved here, I've been here, there. I've seen kind of the general gist of the world. And I know there's women, there's cultural women, for example, like in Dagestan. That's like southern part of Russia, that's like Kafkas. Like, they're pretty principled. And considering that my dad is from there, and there's beautiful, like, don't be like, oh yeah, just some guy, bro, he's a fucking pussy, I should have whipped this kid's ass. He just didn't, he's like, oh yeah, well, everybody in that region fucked a goat. I kind of laughed at it first. I should have whipped his ass, bro. Fuck that shit, that's kind of offensive. But do you really think there's no hot women? There's like probably millions of them. Like, I'm assuming it's at least 10 million women there. Do you really think there's not a hot woman there? There's not a hot chick there? Of course there is, bro. Of course there is. But she's also going to be smart and cultured. So now it's just up to you as a man to isolate and get to the specific level. Avoiding a lot of this stuff. Getting as rich as you can, as fast as you can, which I mentioned before in the previous video, because you need to have good semen quality, but also be rich enough at the same time. The Great Male Challenge. Check out that video if you haven't. And you're gonna go ahead, we'll learn out how to do that in the next video, but I'm trying to inform, like, in this video is just more informative. I'm talking about just general, in case you can show this to your parents if you want. In terms of, like, getting into school. And just general GPA stuff. Like, for example, now we've been talking a lot about the women, how they perform better than men, but why is this necessarily happening? Let's finish off by discussing, well, we won't finish off, we'll have one more point to make before this. Let's, like, talk about why are actually women outperforming men. And this is, like, again, this is the part you can show your parents, in case they don't believe it. Well, women, they mature earlier than boys. So a girl develops at, I think nowadays, girls start to, like, have their periods maybe like 9 years old. I think it's 9 or 10. Now, the reason I know that is because I had a sister. Well, I have a sister. So when obviously she was going through puberty, back when. That's the generals. I have 2 sisters actually. So both of them went through puberty. So I'm an expert on female puberty going. But so that sounds kind of weird, bro. No offense. No, I don't fuck. Should I edit this out? I don't want to come off as like a crazy guy. But you guys know the point. Like, obviously, you know, I'm talking about, I understand when the process is beginning to happen. And the boys, they develop maybe, like, starting, I think, 14, 15, when they start, like, 15, I think, is when you really try to start, maybe 14-ish. 13, 14, like, 13 to 15. And because the girls develop faster, well, their brain also develops faster. It makes sense. Because your body develops, your brain develops. Your brain is part of your body. So they start 8th grade with a 6%, or I'm sorry, 1st grade. They start 1st grade by 6% outperforming boys. I don't know how you'd say 6% better. They do 6% better than guys. There we go. So the girls get, by getting tested, like in IQ and everything, and all parameters, like in all those gifted programs, the girls tend to do 6% better than boys. And this is like having a stock. So let's say you have a stock, you put 20K in it, and you make it go exponentially. And you have a stock that has 18K in there. Just 2K difference, but the stock with 20K is going to make significantly more money over 50 years than the 18K stock because of that, because of, you know, exponential growth. The 20K stock is 20K more. Same thing happens here. And I didn't know this before. You probably didn't know this before either. So you might want to listen. By 8th grade, the gap increases to 13%. We went from 6% in 1st grade to 13% in 8th grade. In 8th grade, maybe you'll admit it, that's when you start to see girls kind of like, you know, getting smarter. Like, the guys are kind of like, yeah, I want to maybe do more physical stuff. And the girls are like trying to get those planners, they're getting those colored notebooks, what I was just talking about. And imagine how much bigger this gap gets by the time they finish, like the time they get into high school. They're about to finish high school by the time they get into college. I mean, it's huge. So that's a pretty good explanation to me, at least, honestly. And let's look at the cycle, because there's a cool cycle. This is what I'll finish off with. Cycle of usually how education affects men. So let's say there's a neighborhood. The guy is born in a poor neighborhood. Considering what we just learned, his brain develops slower. It's fucking retarded, bro. No. Kidding. We're not retarded. I'm just like saying in the past. But let's say he's born. His father figure is gone because they got divorced with his woman, you know, his mom. He starts into school. He's single parent household. He's doing okay in school. He's not like too crazy into school. He doesn't get the best grades. Maybe he drops out, because that's what usually happens. He drops out of high school, then he goes ahead and he can't find a job, or he's underemployed. He's underemployed and he can't find a job. Then no woman wants to marry him, because obviously the women, like I mentioned before, women want someone who's on their level, at least in education, preferably above, or at least someone who makes money, you know? He can't get a wife, but because he's a sexy cunt, he manages to get a girl pregnant, and then the cycle repeats. A child is born with a single mother. The single mother is lacking a father figure. Same, literally exact step. Will prevent the cycle in the future.